Do you remember what Republicans called their bill to repeal Obamacare? I do. It was an act to repeal the job-killing health care law. Now, the whole job-killing thing has always been a bit of a talking point myth. A nonpartisan study of the very similar health insurance mandate enacted 6 years ago in Massachusetts showed, quote, no evidence of reduced employment as a result of health reform there. But still, that argument, the whole job-killing Obamacare thing, sent the owner of Red Lobster and a bunch of other very carb-friendly restaurant chains on a hapless misadventure in corporate protest that culminated today in a really public and embarrassing and informative way. Back in October, a company called Darden Restaurants announced they were putting more workers on part-time status instead of full-time to see if they'd be able to limit the cost of complying with the new health reform law. Under the new law, big companies like Darden have to either offer health insurance or pay a $2,000 fine for each full-time employee over 30 employees who ends up using public subsidies to buy health care. You catch those words there, though? Full-time employees or their equivalents. So the thinking went, if you have fewer full-time employees, that equals less money spent on health coverage, would equal profit. And thus began Darden Restaurants' ill-fated experiment in dodging Obamacare. Turns out elaborate schemes aimed at making life worse for blue-collar employees are kind of unpopular in America. This week, the company had to lower its earning estimate for next year, in part because of all the bad press it got for their health reform shenanigans. Also, people aren't really going for their dinner specials. Apparently, 2 for $25 Olive Garden dinners are not a good enough deal in post-recession America. But today was the end of the line for Darden's experiment in health reform dodging. The company announced that their test of using fewer full-time employees to avoid having to provide them with health insurance, it was a fail. According to the AP's reporting, the company says it, quote, received a flood of feedback from customers through its website, on Facebook, and in restaurants. All that feedback plus, quote, internal surveys showed both employee and customer satisfaction declined at restaurants where they experimented with fewer full-time employees. Turns out everyone is happier when you've got healthy full-time workers who are not sneezing on your food, even the customers. The story of Darden Restaurants is kind of a funny, hapless story, but it illuminates a very, very serious point. There is a reason that employers give their employees health insurance, and it is not because they're swell. It is because they need their employees to be happy, and they need their employees to be healthy, and they need talented people to want to work there. One of the big policy arguments against health reform was that once it is fully implemented, employers will just drop their insurance coverage and pay the $2,000 fine. Won't it be cheaper? But you know what big employers pay now if they don't give their employees health care? Nothing. No $2,000 fine, no penalty at all. And yet, most of them provide health care anyway, and they do it because they need to do it. It's good business. We've seen how it goes. If you are a Massachusetts business and you do not want to provide health insurance to your employees under the state's mandate, the fine is a measly $295 per employee per year, way less than the $2,000 you'd pay under Obamacare. But the same arguments were made in Massachusetts. Oh no, employers are just going to drop their health insurance coverage and pay the fine. It didn't happen. In fact, since statewide health reform there, a bigger percentage of employers in Massachusetts offer health insurance than in the country as a whole. You know what really kills businesses and thus kills jobs? It's not the health care bill. It is losing your talented workers and getting a reputation as a terrible employer with terrible service and breadsticks handled by sick people.